Hello, this is Lisa LaRose here on Connect to Love on PRNFM, and it's an absolutely delightful day, and I want to welcome back Michael J. Russ, fresh from Portugal. I am so excited to explore today with you, Michael. It's always such a delight and such an adventure, and I want to say welcome, and love to hear a little bit about your adventures in Portugal.
Well, easy to get to, easier than I thought. Because the plane flies directly into Lisbon out of Boston. It was not a long flight, 6 hours or so, 6.5. It's a beautiful place. The weather is so different than, people were saying, oh, it's hot. I'm going, no, let me tell you where I came from was hot. This is October weather for me. This is October weather for us. So we were loving it. We had awesome food, found some fantastic restaurants, met a guy, a musician who is the drummer from Katrina and the Waves. He's a good friend of, obviously, a player and compatriot of my friend Vince, who was the bass player in the same band. But so I finally met he and his wife. And
how nice.
We hit it off so well. We had dinner with him twice in 4 nights, which I loved. The conversation, spectacular. Getting to know both of them was amazing. We met a lot of other people, some other expats, just on the fly, lunch. We were about to leave to go to the airport, and we meet another couple who lives an hour and a half away that happens to be right there sitting in the same restaurant that we're in. And my girlfriend Sandy happened to notice that they were American, and we said hello to them on the way out. And all of a sudden we got into this 10, 12-minute conversation about, being expats and their whole story. What's neat about the place is the people are awesome, the food is fantastic, the weather is amazing. It's not overly expensive at all. Even though it's on the euro and you're paying 10, 11% more, it's the cost of living is so reasonable, which is why a lot of people from both Europe and from America and Great Britain are making attempts to live there. Because the rent is reasonable, but however the jig is up with the government, and they've made it very challenging to step into a life there, and so there's a lot of hoops you have to jump through in order to make it occur. But overall, I would say, going back, staying at the same hotel, the people were fabulous, and the hotel was only 10, 15 minutes from the center of anything going on. Which made it awesome in terms of cabs or Ubers. So simple and easy, but great place. I'm looking forward to going back and seeing the rest of the country, going north, going south to the Algarve, which is the vacation spot near the near Spain's border, and going north to the Douro Valley. Wine is fantastic. I know, I love wine, and we did have some great sommeliers and restaurants and some great people explain. It's just amazing. Here's the one thing one take from this whole thing that is really quite interesting in terms of a difference between there and here. The restaurants that we went to, every restaurant we went to except for the local Portuguese restaurant, the Italian restaurant, the continental restaurant, the Asian restaurant, they all had DJs during dinner.
Really? How
they're playing this. I don't know, something chill thump music. It's there's no words. It's just all. It's like dancing music, but it's toned down just a little bit in terms of chill. But there's a driving bass beat going. And it's this vibe. And I'm sitting in this restaurant. The restaurant itself. Let me qualify this. We went to a restaurant that had an upstairs and a downstairs. They had a bar downstairs that was first come first serve, and a restaurant upstairs that was reservations only. And we had made reservations in the restaurant 3 months ahead of time. So we went, we enjoyed ourselves. Then we stepped downstairs to the more casual bar, charcuterie, cheeses. But the same menu is upstairs. So basically, it's for people who just want to come off the street and eat off the menu or whatever, have a cocktail. And there's a DJ down there, and they're sitting there playing music. And the guy shows me, he says, well, this is a unique day. It was Saturday. He says, ordinarily the DJ's over there. And he points to where you walk down this little 4 steps, and there's a circle where a DJ goes, and surrounding the DJ are bathroom stalls.
No way.
It was the most,
wow.
yeah, seriously. He said, that's what the DJ is most
hysterical.
I said, you got to be kidding me. No, it was. I said, I wish I had come when the DJ was down there. But it wasn't a bad thing. The stalls, there was a young lady there, and basically what it is it's like 7 or 8 stalls. It's a circular room, and there's these bathroom double doors that opened up that go into each of the stalls, each of the restrooms, and they're unisex because they're just bathroom stalls. And so the young lady points to the one that's open. You go to that one. You push in the doors that are about they're big double doors. They're about 9-10 feet high, and very small. You close the doors behind you and you lock it and you do your business, and then you're out again, and there's a community place where you wash your hands, which in their Asian restaurant, believe it or not, were clawfoot tubs.
Oh my goodness.
I'll have to send you pictures of this men's room. It's the most mind-blowing thing that you've seen in a long time. But I was sitting there, the video that I shot a little under 1 minute video. And it was showcasing the bathroom. I was the only one in there, and it was a red and black, mostly red, beautiful red, deep red design, and same stalls as in the other restaurant where you just push the double doors open and there you go. And then, but when you came out, I was looking at these 2 tubs. You had 2 clawfoot tubs with copper pipe coming across and faucets coming out that would pour into the tub, and I'm like, okay, how do you turn this thing on? Because in the United States, there'd be you put your hand down as there's sort of a break in as a laser thing, right? No. You have something on the floor, you put your foot on, and the water comes out. I'm like, where's the water? It was hilarious. And it goes into this tub, and my girlfriend and her friend came out of the toilet and said, did you ever see anything like that? No, never seen a tub. I'm going like, I was confused for a moment about where I went to the bathroom and where I washed my hands. And it was really interesting. So I got the link. I'll tell you, excuse me, creativity abounds in Europe. It's so amazing. The architecture is different. Well, the architecture of Portugal.
Sure.
Lisbon's a very, very open, old city, and we saw wonderful cathedrals, and we saw beautiful architecture from the 13th, 14th, 15th centuries, and it was gorgeous. We took a tuk-tuk ride, which is like a 3-wheel electric ride. Right. We signed up for that advance. The moment we got off the plane, we got to the hotel. We had them hold our bags, and we took this 3-hour tuk-tuk ride around, and they took us to all the barrios, all the neighborhoods. The woman was just wealth of information about every cathedral and every building, and it was really awesome. But it was the best thing to have done in order to have gotten this really quick 3-hour snapshot of the city about where to go, and she said what to do, and then she sent us some links, and so it really kind of set up our time. I would encourage anybody. I don't know anybody that hasn't thought about going to Portugal. It's amazing. All of us, it's what you focus on is what you get. So when you focus on something like going to a specific country, all of a sudden everybody you talk to is going to go there or has been there. You run into all these people, and you're like, wait a minute, how did that happen? It's kind of like I wanted to buy a yellow Volkswagen. I've never seen one, but now I've seen 100. Every time I turn around, I'm seeing a yellow Volkswagen, and that's pretty much the way it was. But it's a beautiful place. We can't wait. Our friends are moving over there, so we'll go back sometime next year. We'll take a trip back over there. And we took Portuguese Airlines, which is a wonderful airline, wonderful, mature staff, very good people, pretty amazing, actually. And so I really loved it. Really loved it a lot, and she did too. So,
that's wonderful.
Yeah, it's a unique place in the world. One of the places I immediately say, I'm coming back here, to do it. So it was fun. Thank you for asking. I know it was
Oh, no, it's fantastic. And I want to just put a plug in because Michael J. Russ has connected me with somebody that perhaps will become a new friend. somebody was from Pittsburgh that he met along the way, and I have her information, and maybe we'll see about going to a happy hour and connecting. I pay attention to it because it wouldn't have shown up for you if it wasn't supposed to show up for me. And that's how the law of attraction works and manifestation. And I don't know, I'm living in the wonderful, miraculous world of I don't know. Maybe it's just making a new friend, but who knows what other doorways will open up because of it.
You never can tell. She doesn't. Evidently, she's not far from you, within 10 minutes. And,
I know. That's so crazy.
Yeah. That's the way life is. I say the world is the size of a dime. You think it's huge. However, it's really not. You start attracting people who have the same interests as you. If we could get the one thing across to our listeners here on PRN-FM is that is the wondrous way the world works. When we pay attention to our thoughts, we can actually direct those thoughts to have the how, who we need, the circumstances that we need come to us. And then we have to be alert to the fact that they come to us in a way that is usually non-traditional, and we have to be alert and aware that of the circumstances as they show up. Because a lot of the times, I know people who want something in particular, and it's coming their way in a way that they're not familiar with, not comfortable with, but it's coming to them, and they react completely differently. The reaction is totally different, and with a little bit of negativity in a sense, because everybody has this. They all have this. It's got to come this way. Well, no, it doesn't have to come that way. It'll come. Just stay positive. Keep your feelings positive. Recognize and mitigate negative feelings, and the concept. If in the last 3 years, feelings have been the litmus test for practically everything. And it's just, I noticed that in my life, and I know you do in yours.
Oh, without a doubt. And yesterday, I was re-listening to The Creative Mind by Rick Rubin, and it was very interesting because I listened to it, and I listened to different parts of it, and there was something that really caught my eye. And I want to circle back to the dimes, but one of the things he said was that trivial insights can oftentimes open doors to vast new worlds. And I love the way that he worded that. And that often trivial insights can open the doors to vast new worlds. And he went on to say within that same chapter, oftentimes the hints of inspiration direct that come from source are small. They appear as tiny signals traveling through the void of space, quiet and subtle like a whisper. To hear whispers, the mind must be quiet. And so it got me thinking about the whispers. And one of the things, and it's no accident that you mentioned dimes, because after my mother passed away, I started finding dimes. And we used to always say that dimes were messages from the guardian angels. And when I find a dime, and I most often find a dime almost every day. I mean, it's insanely crazy. And I put them in a special jar. Well, then that jar got filled up, and I think I had the first year I had over $300 worth in dimes.
Really?
Of all the money that I found, I'll be walking somewhere, and I haven't found my dime yet today, but I always acknowledge it, and I just a small little whisper from the universe that it's okay. I'm not alone, that she's still here. My guides are still here. Angels are always around me. And that no matter how anything has a certain appearance, everything is fine. And even deciding to re-listen to that book. I have so many books on Audible that I'm listening to and through the library and whatnot. And I don't know, I just had that guidance yesterday. Just play that. And it was that reminder to me that it doesn't have to be a grandiose thing, that there can be something small within my day that will literally can transform. And it's just about keeping that open awareness and really connecting to the universe. And we talk a lot, not only on our show, but when Carol Collins and the teachers are there and present, we speak about manifestation. and what it is that we call into being. And many years ago, I don't even know how many years ago, I followed the teachings of Abraham Hicks, which Esther Hicks channeled Abraham. And, I kind of got away from it. I haven't really listened. I enjoy listening to Esther. She's very funny, very delightful. But over the last few days, a friend of mine has sent me a few Esther Hicks pieces, or actually just Abraham. So it was interesting because I sent it to you, the one piece that I got this morning, and your words to me were, thank you. Because I kept saying, I don't know why I got these, but, and you said to me, Michael, thank you. This is exactly what I needed to hear today. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Yes, that's absolutely correct. I will cop to that. Yes, exactly what I needed to hear today. And it was, so thank you again. Beautiful piece.
But, yeah, no, it was. But what's so fascinating is there was something that I heard in there that was completely different than what you heard. But it takes the wisdom of you and I together to disseminate and share, like, wow, this is what really moved me. And in my aspect, I was moved by what Abraham said about manifestation. And that it just basically, in a nutshell, that we are in this vortex. And as we are in this vortex, everything that we can manifest, large or small, it really is up to us of what we want to focus on. And so I received this video this morning, and I watched it, and I listened to it, and I kind of highlighted the section that really spoke to me. And I thought, I said, well, Michael, maybe we could talk about this a little bit on the show. And not too long after you and I had the conversation, I got a text message from a very dear friend of mine who was out shopping. And she was a little bit distressed because I had purchased a pair of pants the other day. They were cargo pants. And she thought, well, those are really cute. She said, I would like to get a pair as well. So she went yesterday and bought 2 pair. And she realized that they also had them in black. So she went to a different store today. And this particular friend of mine she always, let's see how I can put it in a very sweet way. She's a very beautiful lady. And she would like to be a different age than she is. Although she looks, I would say she looks 20, 30 years younger than she does. She is age-wise. However, when I talk to her and we have conversations, she's very hard on herself, and she calls herself old all the time. And I ask her to please correct that. Like, do not see yourself that way. Be careful of what you manifest. So today, when she was purchasing those pants, the young girl that was checking her out said, oh, are you buying these for your granddaughter? She was very distressed about this. So I ended up calling her, and I said, well, I said, how do you feel about it? She said, I don't handle these things quite like you do. And I said, well, let's talk this through, because I said, you look great. And I said, she actually fit in a much smaller size than she thought she would in the pants. She thought she needed a 10, and she fit into a 6. So already she's, doing much better. She's been on a diet. And she said, I'm not seeing any difference. I said, well, you're no longer a 10, you're a 6. So applaud yourself for that. But it was interesting to me because I thought to myself, here I am listening to Abraham speak about manifesting, and here's my friend manifesting something that she didn't want. And it was a really good reminder for me to be conscious of what I speak into being, and also to be mindful of the words that I choose. And so I mentioned to her something about me, and it made me laugh because she said, well, you're still a teenager, and you never grew up. And I said, well, thank you. I'll own that. I said, I would definitely say that I like being fun and spontaneous. And I said, but I said to her, but I still do grown-up things. She goes, yes, but you're still a teenager. So I had to laugh about that. But I thought it was a really good example of really how we see ourselves and how hard we are on ourselves. And when we do see ourselves in a not so positive light, what are we manifesting from that? And how instead can we shift that so that, and what I read from the Esther that really spoke to me was that it's more important when you're manifesting to focus on the manifested reflection of the genius, the power, the clarity, and the love of who you are. And I thought, oh my gosh, that is so powerful, because it really does speak to the profound significance of not only self-realization but authenticity. Who are you? What is your inner self? To see that genius in yourself, to see that beauty in yourself, to love yourself. And I don't know, it just really spoke to me. Yeah, and I'd love to hear your thoughts about that, Michael.
Seriously beautiful. Number one, great story. And I've always said that our experiences are simply validating. They stand as a mirror to our own thinking. And we've discussed that here on the show many times, even with Carol, in a more intricate way. And that's exactly, people wonder why they're having the experiences that they are. And if you start digging deep enough, you can see how the experiences are dovetailing in one way or another with what they think about themselves, how they feel about themselves, how they're not seeing the genius in themselves, how the self-love is a concept but not a practice, and how the unconditional love is again a concept and not a practice. If you can understand something, the real challenge is actually implementing it and applying it to our lives and weaving it into our experience here on this planet. And we talked earlier about the couples that we met that were expats. There is no accident. We know people who are coming over, are going to Portugal. We know people. It's in the forefront of our minds. We're not going to do that. However, it's the space we put ourselves in thought-wise, and as a result, we met people who fell into that thought process, the feelings. Now, I have a tremendous amount of self-love. I'm going to simply tell you that it wasn't always like that, but not so detrimental that it was problematic. It's just, self-confidence for a lot of people is an issue. Your friend, being confident enough in herself, in her age, we live in a world where falsely value is placed on youth. The value is placed on youth. And there's a whole train of thought, a train of marketing that is designed around what you want to avoid. And the trap is when you step into being exposed to something that is coming at you from what you want to avoid, and age is a big one. Age. People don't want to age. They want to stay young. Everybody knows that. The advertisers know it. So the way they sell things to you is to, in essence, say, if you don't do this, you might look old. You want to avoid looking old, get this. You want to avoid being old, do this. And people they've found psychologically through testing, and that people will respond more to what they want to avoid than what they actually want, which is a strange little conundrum.
Right.
However, psychologically, that's the way we are. And listen, I understand that. I can see that, the writing on the wall when it's in front of me. I don't fall for that banana in the tailpipe, so to speak. I know what's going on.
Good for you.
Yeah, I know what's going on. And because I know what's going on, I can see it from a different perspective. But however, if you get blindsided by something like that and fall for that age thing, and as we all know, when we, as your friend experienced, when we fear aging, we will attract things into our life that validate the fear of aging, that validate that it is a real fear. Strangely enough, I don't fear aging. I love where I am in life. And I sent you a picture. Did you see the picture of me? The black
when you were
white?
young? Yes, I did. It was fantastic.
4 weeks old. I'd never seen that picture before. My sister and my mother are up at her house cleaning things out, and they found that picture, and she sent it to me. And it's me lying in a onesie or something like that in a bed. It's me at less than 4 weeks old. Now, I was a preemie. I was 5.5 pounds when I was born, and I was in in those days they placed you in an incubator. I was in an incubator for about 3 weeks. And then we were off in that next week to drive to Alaska for a 3-year stint. My dad was stationed in Alaska, and we drove all the way across the country from Niagara Falls to the Alaskan Highway, which is a gravel road back then, and we went up to Anchorage. And
oh my gosh!
We have some Super 8 movie film of the road and us traveling on it, you know, the car we had and how packed it was. And there was 2 kids in there, myself and my brother. My sister hadn't been born yet. She was born in Alaska. And so it's interesting. And I'm always cognizant of the fact that things are going on in my life. The question I'm asking myself is, what am I thinking that's drawing this to me? And when I go on trips, I go on vacation, I've said this many times, my focus is on having fun, feeling good about where I am, absorbing the positivity in every moment, and as a result, of the smile on my face, and the love I have for myself and the joy I feel for life, I actually attract very interesting people into my life and have really wonderful conversations, and I treat everyone as if they were just, a friend of mine. And it's funny because I had this conversation with somebody over there who is in the service industry about, how you treat people. And it's interesting because they had the exact same thought process going on. When people are servicing me, it's a privilege and an honor that I get to benefit from their knowledge and from what they're doing for me. And I'm very grateful for it. And it's not something that I take for granted. As a matter of fact, I believe it was a server in a restaurant that I had that conversation with. Because he was like, "You're so happy." I said, "Yeah. I'm happy. Happy that you're here taking care of us, and that's how you get great people to come take care of you. When you're in a strange country or wherever, you attract the people who live the magic, so to speak. They live the magic, and I love every aspect of that, and it's fun. It's really a lot of fun.
And I love that you guys got into a tuk-tuk and went around, because it's almost as though as you're absorbing and listening to your guide, you're sort of tracking the information and saying, that looks interesting, like to explore that. No, not so much. That doesn't resonate with me. And it sort of allowed you to navigate through that path, create your own connection, your own sense of connection. And then it's no wonder you drew the people that you did to you on your path.
We had the best tuk-tuk driver, very knowledgeable, and a lot of fun. And she had a very big smile on her face, and her command of English was so amazing. And she says, "We watch a lot of American TV over here." I said, "Really?" Yeah, because she was from Brazil. And,
oh, really?
Yeah, she was from Brazil. She had moved there about a year earlier, and she became a tuk-tuk driver 6 months ago. And her English was fabulous. She took some classes on the history of Lisbon and went around and did her homework. So when she became a tuk-tuk driver and for her, it wasn't necessarily a full-time job because she did some other things as well. She did other guides for other things. People hired her to take them to places, and it was really interesting. People really, when you love where you are, you love what you're doing, and you love yourself, which has got to be paramount. Amazing things can occur. You always meet the right people, and if you don't, they generally become the right people. In my view, if you run into a situation where someone is a little bit rough around the edges, attitudinally, your being, your smiling, and your state of being can transform theirs. It's just that way. Now, I'm going to tell you something. This is flipping back to your finding dimes. I am not necessarily finding dimes. I'm finding dimes, quarters, nickels, pennies, and I find them right exactly where my foot is going to go. So if I pull into a parking space, I open my door and I look down, and the money is sitting right there where I look at this like, wait a minute. Or if I'm walking through a parking lot, I'm looking straight ahead, and at that particular moment, I may look down, and when I do, there's money there, and I'm like, it's my angels. And guys, they know that we in this planet in this earthly plane are fascinated by money, so they play tricks. If it's not money, feathers. I find feathers on golf. When I play golf, I'll find a single feather sitting in the fairway where my ball is landed, and it's fabulous. And I give thanks and gratitude to not being alone and having guidance. I'm going to say that I spend a lot of my day in the 3D world, so it's a pleasure to be able to be reminded that I have that. We're all guided,
and that the universe is endlessly abundant, infinitely abundant, and that prosperity is at your footstep. It's like you're walking on the path of prosperity, which is fantastic.
Well, what's interesting is I embraced Bashar. Because Bashar, who he channels, his great, fantastic definition of abundance, which is having exactly what you need when you need it. And I remember that at all times. And if we remember, and it may not, the caveat to that is it may not arrive in the form that you believe it should, because we've attached some sort of system of belief to what we believe, to what we think abundance should be. And so just because you need to pay the rent doesn't mean that, a stack of bills are going to show up. You may have your landlord say, hey, you might call him and say, hey, we've got one, you got a grace period, or I've got your deposit. Why don't I just use that this month? And you get a break. Communication obviously is key. And a friend of mine just found that out the other day. He was, he called his mortgage company to talk about some things or some other debtor, and they said, hey, appreciate you communicating with us. Your communication is key. Now that we know what's going on with you, we've got contingency plans for this and that, and let's do this for you. And if he had lived in the world of fear and never made a phone call, which a lot of people do when they have financial problems, they don't communicate. They shut down. And it's important to make calls to the people you owe money to or who are expecting money from you. And when you do that, they do have contingencies. They want you to be current. And a lot of people will simply shut down in fear and go hide somewhere until it's way too late. Way too late. And that can be a little bit of a challenge, but as the thing I got out of today's the Abraham Hicks channeling was trying gets in the way. A couple things. Everything is always working out for you, and manifestation will follow your follow your point of attraction, which is evidenced by how you're feeling. And that, to me, that's what I needed to hear today. And when you came forward with the transcript, and I'm going, where was that? It was too late to listen to it again. I'd listened to it twice already, and somehow I didn't hear that. So we know that our guides are working with us and making sure that we're focused on the things, bringing us the things that we most need that day in order to remain joyful and happy and passionate about ourselves and loving of ourselves. And that is, it's not coincidence, it's not an accident, it's on purpose. When you open yourself up to receiving guidance, it will come from a myriad of different directions. And it's like what do we call that? It's like receiving a cornucopia of gifts. You know, and it's just fabulous, absolutely fabulous.
Right.
But I appreciate the story about the dimes, though. I didn't know. I mean, to collect that many dimes, it's pretty spectacular.
I have multiple, but I find, like you, I find quarters, I find lots of I always find pennies, and no matter what it is, I'm just always grateful for the prosperity and abundance, and I recognize it as a remembrance that it's all around. You just need to access it. And I think and that was another thing within that Abraham Hicks. Abraham talks about this vortex, and that within the vortex, which I think of the vortex sort of being like a funnel cloud. And so if we think of ourselves, we're creating that funnel cloud where we control everything. And they said even the cells of your body, your economic relationship with the economy, your relationships with other people. So it's all this swirling energy. We don't really think of that. You know, we're sending things out. We're sending our thoughts out. We're sending all these other different processes out into the universe. And energy cannot be created or destroyed. So it's like we forget that we are very powerful receivers, and what do we want to tune into on that radio dial? And so if you want to feel useful, then do things that make you feel useful. And that can be something as simple as going to the store and buying yourself some finger paints and getting some paper out and playing, or if you want, putting on some music from a time that made you feel really good and dancing around the house.
Yeah.
Whatever it is that brings you joy. And for me, I think probably the reason that I feel like a teenager and never really got past, I'm probably even younger than that if I wanted to go back, but I've always been pretty happy. And I wake up in the morning and my days are not without challenges. I've had some pretty doozies over the last little while, and I'm looking at everything that has unfolded in my world, and some things seem surreal, and how things have kind of circled back, and I've not allowed it to put me into fear or anger or whatever it is, the emotions that most people. I've had lots of people say, well, I'm really afraid for you. You should do that. And I'm like, it's okay. I'm divinely protected. I'm not going to play in that realm. I'm going to move forward. And I wake up and I've got a big smile on my face. And I do lots of things in my day, but I just keep moving forward because I know that it'll be a distant memory in another few weeks, a month, a year from now. Time goes so quickly, and so I want to enjoy every day in so many different ways. And I know that you do too. And when you're walking, you wonder. And I think a lot of our audience members can probably relate because I've connected with a lot of people that are young in their 20s, right? So, and a lot of them right now are experiencing fear and anxiety and the label of ADHD or whatever else it is. And I don't know whether perhaps it was because of COVID and not being able to anchor in with their peers during some critical times in their lives. I'm not sure, but it's palpable. And so I've had the opportunity to work with a few of them and give them some skill sets that I have learned that can make a difference in releasing that. And one of my teachers, John White was his name. He was a wonderful, wonderful gentleman. He's now on the other side, but he said, treat fear as a hallucination. And he said, and if you're going to hallucinate, why not have a good hallucination? He said, because it's not real. And when I was with this group of people, I said to them, you cannot experience love and fear at the same time. So find something that you're in love with. Whenever you go into those moments where you feel panic, you're going to have a panic attack or whatever it is, just take yourself out of the situation and love on it. And I think the same thing with your physical. You may not be 21 again ever. I mean, nobody ever has a time machine that they go back. But find where you are and love on that. I mean, there's things that I look at myself. I mean, I'm very strong and I can do a lot of different things. And I think in some ways I get better and better every day because that's my mantra. I get better and better every day in every way. And it's just different. And do I want to go back to be 16? Oh, no, thank you. There were lots of things and hormones and all kinds of stuff that went on when I was 16. But I can still keep a youthful mindset. And I think that that's really where it is. And I know, like, when you're out on the golf course or you're out on your walk, I mean, there's things that I can't imagine you being out on the golf course, Michael, without a smile on your face. I don't even think that exists.
It does happen. I mean, on occasion. It happens because I'm human. And, however, it's not the frown that I focus on. It's when I recognize that I have a frown, that I didn't really like something, some misfortune or unfortunate circumstance that occurred, I shift and pivot in a different direction. And Hicks said something very interesting. She said, if you're experiencing fear, change the subject. And what I do is I use golf as an opportunity to practice shifting. Yeah, because it gives you many opportunities to do that, and it's a long game by comparison. 4 hours, 4.5. I know areas where you play and it's 6 hours, and where there's lots of people who want to play the game. It takes a while. There's a lot of waiting, a lot of patience that's necessary. And in golf, we've got something that's called rhythm, where you're not standing around, because the longer you stand around, the more your mind can lack focus, can lose the focus that you actually had. So you have to change your mind constantly to something, if you're waiting around, that is positive, instead of focusing on waiting. And again, it's where I get to practice understanding how I feel, being aware of what's going on in my head, the inner conversation that I'm having with myself about my game that day and what I feel capable of. I've played at times where I've had, just the most miraculous things happen, and then when they do, I go, wow, now that is amazing. That is special. And does it happen every single time? There are rounds where I will play just about as perfect as I can play for 4 hours. And there are times where the first half is awesome and the backside is score-wise not so great, and times when it's the flip side, where I not play so well on the front side, and I'll shift my thinking and drop some of the negatives that I'd held on to for one thing or another. It may just be that I'm a little tighter, so I sit around and stretch for a little bit. Right. It's always something. I look at, interestingly enough, when I encounter people that aren't playing so well, or just playing, I know they're good golfers, but somehow that day is not working out. What I call it is the 1 degree. I call it the 1 degree, because it's that old concept where if you're in a plane and you're off course by 1 degree, you'll end up miles away from where you actually intended to go. And so in golf, you can be off just 1 degree, and things are just almost there. They're almost as the way you want them to be. the way that you envision them. It's just that there's just something. And I just, at that point in time, I go, it's the 1 degree, so let's shift.
Right.
Let's shift. It's something about my thinking, my relaxation, what I'm focused on that day, and I ask myself what I'm focused on. Maybe it's something off the course, maybe it's not. It's something. And when I do that, the backside I can play the way my average game. And in life, you can have your average game. You can have an awesome day when we realize that, maybe you might be off by a degree. We've allowed something to put us off by about 1 degree, and we're ending up in places that we don't like or that we don't recognize. Mm-hmm. And we're attracting people into our lives that we don't normally attract. And it's just that 1 degree of thinking. That's something that's a little bit off that we have to recalibrate.
Sure.
Which is what I call it. And I recalibrate the thought process. By the way, I shot 3 golf videos in Portugal.
Congratulations. That's great. That's wonderful.
That thought for a second. I'm going to go shoot a video.
Yeah.
And they go, what? Yeah, I'm going to shoot a video. I'll be back in about 3 minutes. But I went off and...
Good for you.
Yeah, it was sunny. It was beautiful. I was at this large square, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. And I just decided to shoot. I had some ideas and thoughts, and I love doing it. And it doesn't matter where I do it as long as I do it. And it was just a beautiful backdrop for me.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's awesome.
That's one thing about you, Michael, because you have a very positive, healthy relationship with yourself. And so your self-perception and your self-worth influences all that you do, not just your thoughts and your emotions, but your actions. If you're feeling it, you're like, okay, this message is coming through you right now. I would like to share it. And I think that really speaks to what Abraham was talking about when you're operating from a place of genius, clarity, and, love, self-love. It really does impact the people around you and make a difference, whether it be in the golf community or somebody's tuning into your message for something else, it makes a difference. And last week we spoke about embodying love. So I think that when you empower yourself or you embody this inner genius, you are able to manifest things more easily because we're projecting them out onto the world. And if it's a manifested reflection, and I really like that because that's sort of, when I sent you that video, there were things that you manifested to listen to or things that I tuned into, and we reflect those back to one another. And then it opens a doorway for me to say, well, I never saw that message. Thank you very much for sharing that, because guess what? I'll go back and revisit it and take what I need from it as well. I think that it's really amazing and really brilliant.
Well said. I really agree with you. Well said. Functionally, if our audience can pick up on nothing else, it's that we're all operating. This vortex, I think, is a great concept, especially when you tied it to like a funnel cloud. It's of our making, and it can be a funnel cloud that skips over everything and everybody and doesn't really hurt anything, or it can be a funnel cloud that literally destroys everything in its path. And that's it's of our own choosing. This isn't a real funnel cloud, by the way, to our audience who lives in Tornado Alley. This is a situation where we're always creating. There's always a vortex there, and we have the ability to choose what the nature of that vortex, whether that vortex is a positive embodiment of of genius and love and happiness and joy and passion and commitment, self-confidence, or whether it's the complete opposite of those things. And if we find ourselves in a situation where we've got a vortex that is embodying lower frequencies, lower vibrational frequencies, things that don't make us feel really good, then we have the ability to completely flip that to a vortex that's resonating something that is more in line with what we want in our lives. It's all about whether or not we have the capability to remain aware or not of that we are in charge. That was the thing that came through very loud and clear, that, we're in charge.
Mm-hmm.
We have more power than we think we do.
Right.
And we have more help, more assistance, more guidance than we could ever imagine. And I believe there was a comment in the video where Abraham had said the number of the number of those here to help you in non-physical form is infinite. Can't give you the number.
I love that. Yeah.
It doesn't exist, and I really loved that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Because we always, as humans, we always think in onesies, twosies, 4, 5, 10, and we're talking about a number that you can't even envision. You can't envision. There's all kinds of help for you, and it's a matter of remaining aware of the fact that you can step out of the 3D world into and where you're creating your vortex and don't really know what that vortex is, and you're getting the consequences of that vortex, or you recognize that you're creating that vortex, and you then now begin to, through your own intentions, through your focus, and how you process events around you, you're controlling, creating and controlling the vortex of your desire, and as a result, resonating frequencies that are manifesting more of what you want. And it's akin to me to being able to making long putts on the golf course all day long.
Yeah, well, and sometimes it can be like, a video popping up on YouTube that you never would have thought would have come up in your feed, and it may attract you, or somebody sends you something, and then it opens a doorway. I had a video pop up the other day, and it involved Carl Jung, the psychologist. And I thought, wow, I haven't really thought. I have a wonderful book on his art, and I have lots of things, but I never really ventured into listening to his things. So next thing I know, I downloaded his biography, and so I could listen to that. And then I found another book that he wrote on synchronicity, and it was sort of a meandering path, because next thing I know, my guides are telling me, go to Half Price Books, and I'm thinking in my brain, I'm going, no, I don't need another book. I have so many books. Why do you want me to go to Half Price Books? And then I went anyway, because I follow my guidance, and there was some things that I needed that I didn't know that I needed, and I bought some things for a friend of mine that I just felt really guided to. And what was so interesting, as I was speaking about a time in my life, I went back through pictures back to 2019, and here one of the books was in there connected to something else, connected to Carl Jung, and I just thought, okay, this is it. This is what actually Carl Jung talked about. He called it the flowering of individuation, and he said it's an unconscious, which is really what manifestation is, that it's a conviction that in whatever passion you have is the path that you're on, that there is no incorrect path. So in that wanting, and if we want to really manifest, and that's, I think, what Abraham was saying, that there is a genius of who we are. We're actually, the most important thing is to manifest that genius and the clarity and the love of who we really are, for where we are on our path, because and as Abraham said in the video, you're going to end up in the same place. It's the same path. No matter what way you go, I mean, even though you may have gone to the wrong gate and missed your flight, that's exactly what was supposed to happen, so that you could meet these other people in order for you to grow or other doorways to open. And I think that's really, with our guidance, and you said those infinite guides on the other side that are helping us, they can see it all. We can't see any of it. So just let it flow, right? Yeah,
everything's going to work out for you, and you're always where you're supposed to be, always. Mm-hmm. And that those two things, they're like they should be written on a mirror that you see every morning. On your mirror in the bathroom as you're washing your face. You should be able to be seeing that every day, being reminded constantly of the fact that you are where you're supposed to be, and things are always going to work out the way they're supposed to, because we're all coming from a different place. And the thing that's been on my mind more lately than anything else, and it's funny because I was talking about it today to myself when I kind of talk myself through the videos that I'm going to make before I make them, which is why they come out so, I guess, perfect in less than a minute. And that is, I was thinking about the concept of contrast and how I've come to understand that one of the most significant ways that we grow in this life as physical beings is through contrast. And when we intentionally control that contrast, when we put ourselves out there and set the attention to experience contrast, then we grow exponentially. And as opposed to wanting to be, it's akin to this: if you've never traveled more than 75 miles from home in your entire lifetime, which is literally a very huge percentage of people in the United States. If you've never traveled more than 75 miles from home, then what you know is within the boundaries of 75 miles. That's it. That's what you know. That's what you've experienced in your life. And when you expose yourself to what's outside that barrier, physical things. I'm not talking about, because the other thing too is that you can, in this digital world, you can experience more things now through what you read, what you see, what you watch on TV, what you expose yourself to on the computer and social media, blah blah blah, right? But those are all what somebody else wants you to see. That's all. Everything you see is what somebody else has curated based on their thoughts. And it's not your impression, it's their impression. So the only way to grow as an individual is to continually expose yourself to contrast, being here versus there, doing this thing versus that thing, right? Having this experience versus that experience. And through that, your mind can discern, wow, okay, that's an experience that I really like. I really love that. I want more of that. And you can't say you want more of that throughout your lifetime unless you're exposing yourself to new things, which is interesting because I ran into a couple of other people here on this trip that were, for all lack of better term, Air Force brats or military brats, people who grew up with their fathers in the military, traveling all over the world and all of that. And we have a very unique mindset. And this particular person was telling me, you have this great mindset because you were exposed to a lot of different things. Well, what I was exposed to was a contrast to living in America. That's what I was exposed to.
Sure.
In this country, that country, this country, that country, wherever we traveled, there was always this contrast of the way other people were living, other people were thinking, and their customs and those kinds of things. And so you become extremely cosmopolitan, and you have are able to communicate in a way with just about anyone, whether you speak their language or not. And that's the beauty that I've been exposed to. And it was my father who made that choice to make sure, my father and mother, to take us everywhere and never leave us for a couple of years. There are parents who were in the same position, but they won't take their kids out of school. They want them to have the same friends for years, like they did.
Right.
And we're like, how boring to have the same friends from cradle to grave. Anyway, we've got about less than a minute, but I simply want to say this, and I'd love for you to kind of finish based on the what you started with here. But I want to say thank you for the wonderful time that we always spend together. It's brilliant. It's in my view, it provides me with contrast with with yourself and different ideas, and that's how I'm growing myself.
Well, it's beautiful. Yeah, and as you, Michael, thank you. I think that you inspire me, or the time that we take here on Connect to Love on PRNFM, and also connecting with people on Instagram. It is a way for us to share our similar values, our aspirations, to manifest together and to really be able to handle any challenges and build that resilience so we can really create that ripple effect in the world to inspire through love and our connection to love. And I'm just so grateful to you all and to you, Michael. So thank you.
Thank you for listening.
Until next time.
Thank you.
Yep.